Being a fan of 60% mechanical keyboards, I'm always on the lookout for cheap alternatives that offer a lot of value. So when Redragon got in touch to send over their K530, I was intrigued. I tested it at work for the last week, and here we are today with my thoughts on it. Let's check it out. The box has a nice branding overall, and in it you'll find a manual, then the keyboard itself in between two foam pads. You also get an angle USB-C cable, 4 additional switches, one of each color, a switch puller, and a keycaps puller. Looking at the keyboard itself, it's all black. The case has a matte finish on the outside, while the interior is glossy. Under it, you get rubber pads and flip-out feet to adjust the height. One downside though is that the rubber material on the flip-out feet is very hard, so it doesn't stick much to the surface, and the keyboard moves around more easily than most boards I've tested. All the ports and controls are on the left side, so you get a USB-C port, always nice to see on cheaper boards, then an on-off switch for the wireless mode, and a Bluetooth channel selector to switch between connected devices. There are 2 LED indicators as well, one for the status of the battery, and the other to tell whether it's connected over Bluetooth and to which device. Overall, the case's quality is okay. I would argue that the Amp Pro 2's case feels higher quality, but in comparison, this one is probably slightly better than a GK61. The layout is 100% NC standard, so that's cool if you want to replace the keycaps. There's nothing really to look out for. As for the keycaps themselves, one nice thing is that they are double shot, but it pretty much stops there. They are cheap ABS keycaps with a matte finish on top and glossy sides. The matte finish might reduce wear at first, but you can expect them to shine over time. The sides are also easy to scratch with the included keycaps puller, so if you have a wire keycaps puller, I'd recommend using that instead. And finally, there are plastic residues at the base of the keycaps. So nothing too exciting, but I guess that's expected at this price. I would consider replacing the keycaps with some cheap PBT keycaps if it was my daily driver. Now to the switches. My unit came with brown switches. These are branded as Redragon, but they really seem to be Automu switches, given the type of hot swap switch sockets that this keyboard has. These switches are not the highest quality. They are more tactile than cherry browns, even though that's not very hard to achieve, but they feel quite scratchy. The quality of the plastic used for the bottom of the housing seems lower than usual. Not terrible overall, but entry-level options from Gateron, Cherry, or Kale would likely yield better results. As for the stabilizers, they seem to be factory lubed, but barely, and the overall application seems poor and not at the right places, so they rattle a lot. This is definitely something that would benefit from a proper lubing. So as I said earlier, this keyboard has hot swap switch sockets. However, these are not the sockets we're seeing usually made by Gateron or Kale. These are Automu switch sockets. From the back of the PCB, they almost look like regular solder joints, but from the top, you do see the holes. These switch sockets will only accept Automu switches as the holes for the contact pins are too small for other brand switches. So although this keyboard is branded as a hot swap capable unit, I would recommend buying the switch type that you prefer and sticking with it, as it won't really get better if you want to change down the line. Otherwise, the keyboard has a matte black metal plate and the PCB is green. There seems to be a few empty switch hole locations on the PCB. Not sure if it's meant to support more than one layout or something else, maybe for an ISO layout. There is a Bluetooth chip soldered there too, and the side buttons are in fact controlling switches on the side of the PCB. Finally, the battery is stuck at the bottom of the case. It has a removable connector, so it would be possible to upgrade the battery. The case still has a bit of room for a larger battery. The overall layers design was highly inspired by the M Pro 2. The caps lock key has the magic function label, and you get a function 1 and function 2 layer, where layer 1 gives additional keys, while layer 2 gives access to core keyboard functions like LED control. Both of these features are pretty much taken straight from the M Pro 2. However, the implementation of the magic function feature is not as great, as you need to hold down the caps lock key for a few seconds before being able to use WASD as arrow keys. To me, it sort of defeats the purpose, as I see this as a feature to gain speed over the regular function 1 key. Apart from that, you get the typical function row with the number row and the function key, and navigation keys near the right section of the board. Overall, I like that the default layer is better than typical cheap keyboards, with 2 function layers and WASD as arrow keys. It's a layout that I was used to already. Now, as for Bluetooth, I was pleasantly surprised with how long the battery lasted. I used the keyboard for over 4 full days with LEDs on over Bluetooth on my MacBook. So that's definitely more than 8 hours a day, as I also use my computer in the evening for entertainment, and there was still some battery left. That seems to be much better than the M Pro 2 stock battery life, and I believe that the fact that this keyboard uses Bluetooth 5.0 probably helps a lot, given that it's a more energy efficient version of Bluetooth. The only issue I came across is that sometimes the keyboard wouldn't wake up again from sleep, like the LEDs wouldn't turn on and the keyboard wouldn't reconnect, but turning it off and on fixed the issue. Just something to keep in mind if you plan to use it 100% wirelessly, although in the last days, it didn't seem to be an issue anymore. Otherwise, the latency was unperceivable, definitely good enough for work, but as always, I would use it wired for gaming. Now to the LEDs, they are not the brightest I've seen, but it's likely caused by the black plate. You get a few animations on board and can switch between them with function 2 and 9, then function 2 and plus or minus will adjust the brightness. Additional controls will be adjusted with the software. Speaking of the software, you can control LED lights. Seems like they save on board as my changes persisted between computers, so that's cool. You can pick between a bunch of preset animations and then pick from specific colors, and while you can set static colors, it doesn't seem to be possible to have key-by-key colors. As for key remapping, it's not super exhaustive. You can remap keys from the main layer to other keys, macros, or multimedia keys. The additional layers seem to be immutable. Overall, it's not a super high quality software, there are a lot of typos, and things don't look too polished either. It's better than no configuration, but still, even the GK software is better, and the level of configuration goes much deeper, with custom light animations and layer configuration. So in conclusion, I have mixed feelings with this keyboard. I like that the default layer is really close to the M Pro 2's implementation, the battery life is one of the best I've seen yet, and the feature set is quite impressive for the price. However, the default switches and stabilizers are not that great, and although the switches can be hot swapped, it will only accommodate out-of-move switches, so nothing really exciting. The keycaps are fairly low quality, although they are double shot, so there's that. And the software is not great either and is quite limited, not being able to remap the additional layers, so you're stuck with what they offer. Like anything, it's all relative to the price. This keyboard is offered at around $70, so if you can get your hands on an SK61S or M Pro 2 for around that price, I would go with these options. But if the K530 is like $20 cheaper or more, then maybe I would consider it. With the M Pro 2 and SK61S, you would get better keycaps, better switches, better software, and layers configuration, but the battery life wouldn't be as good, and you're losing flip-out feet, if that's something you care about. So that wraps it up for today. I'll have a link to this keyboard in the description for you to check out, and if you're interested, feel free to use that link and help the channel at the same time. As always, thank you for watching, make sure you leave a like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe if you still haven't already, as I'll see you in the next video.